Jonathan Kuminga. So this was a Bryce Simon pick.
Yep.
I will give you the floor on Kuminga because this was a good amount higher than where I had him.
Where did you have Kuminga?
Somewhere in the 30s.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you weren't even in here at all.
No, yeah, I was lower on Kuminga than that.
Yeah, like I've been high on Kuminga since last offseason. I think whenever we did the Warriors, I don't know if we did breakout things or X factors or something like that. I thought he was the guy for the Warriors, and I thought he made major strides in general with his scoring in terms of even cutting off the ball, just his confidence, his movement, all of those different type of things. He obviously did not shoot the ball well from three. That's going to be a huge part of this. He'll have to figure that out. But I thought he made that jump finally. And then the other thing with Kuminga, and I've talked about this multiple times now, is just the opportunity that I think he'll have. I think he has an opportunity to be the second option on the Warriors offensively for a good stretch of time throughout the season. I think he needs to be that. Perhaps I don't know what's going to happen post Steph Curry, but I think I'm obviously higher on Kuminga than you are, but I'm also high on the opportunity he's going to have with the Warriors. So I had him right here at the back end of my top 24 just because of that. I also think just the athleticism and the size, there's the opportunity to be a real two-way player. I'm not saying he's there yet, but there's an opportunity to take matchups. I was looking through my notes as I was preparing for this, and it's like, oh, in this Rockets game, he took the Jalen Green matchup, and then there was a Celtics game, and he was taking the Jason Tatum matchup, and got a huge steal in overtime of that game. So I think there's potential for a real two-way wing forward. And if the offense continues to be more confident and he starts to make shots, I just think he can be a real two-way force at some point during all of this. There you see one of those, those cuts off the ball.
Yeah. I mean, like everything that we're seeing on the screen, right? Like it's just all power athleticism and like dynamic body control. And like the thing that he does really, really well is he knows how to navigate little tight creases around the basket and in the paint, and like using jump stops and using his ability to kind of turn and flip his hips to be able to create separation and be able to get all the way to the rim and extend and finish. He's an awesome, awesome finisher around the rim. I always worry about how scalable these guys are to the playoffs on some level.
Sure.
I think he'll defend at a real clip, right? I think he will certainly or defend like on the ball, at least at a real clip, and be switchable and be tough. I just don't know like if he's going to be enough of a shot creator for himself, because like, for instance, everything that we saw in, the clips that we just saw come up on the screen, right? It's something getting created for him, an advantage, an odd man situation getting created for him. I don't think that Kuminga really creates those advantages himself, maybe is the way to put it. And that's what kind of frustrates me about watching him a lot of the time. And on top of it, also just can't shoot pull-ups, right? Like in any way, shape, or form. Like he absolutely is not a guy that's going to make pull-up jumpers. I don't really even trust him to make like catch and shoot jumpers at this point. But even with that, he is still one of three players, 21 years of age or younger last season, to average 16 points per game and shoot 50% from the field. Like the production is pretty real, even playing on a team where they needed scoring. Like by the end of the season, Kuminga was like kind of inching up the scouting report in terms of guys that you had to stop if you were dealing with the Golden State Warriors. So I'll kind of ask you this now. Is this a situation where you buy into the shooting in a way, or like, are you buying into the passing? Because that's something that we haven't seen any of. Like, I don't see the passing like in any way, shape, or form. So where do you see the growth come from to get to the level where he is making a leap like this?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think corner threes for one is one thing I'll take note of. He shot 42% last season on corner threes. He shot 44% this season on corner threes. So there has to be a little bit of something with that. The free throw percentage got better. I just think he looked more confident and he took on a lot more usage. So I do think, the overall efficiency not being not being crazy. I mean, from the field, I guess it still was. He was still 53% from the field. So it just, the 3-point percentage dipped. And so that means he just wasn't making his ones above the break, top of the key, probably off the dribble, like you're talking about. I wonder if he can be one of these wing slasher, like you mentioned, the power, explosive scores that's getting you 20 a night, and then also being a really good defender. And so that's where I think this is just my belief in Kuminga. Like he has, for whatever reason, has become one of those guys I just kind of believe in. I think he's going to be a good player. He doesn't even fit in the mold of every other player we're going to talk about tonight. So like, that's where I'm going to contradict myself, because the next guy we talk about is kind of completely different than Kuminga. And a couple of the other ones are, because I think they're like true role players that just fit a role exceptionally well. A lot of these other guys, I don't know that that's necessarily Kuminga. I just can't quit him. I just think he's a very good player. I think it's been untapped. We saw a little bit of it last year. I think we could see, I'm betting on another jump from him this year with some more opportunity with Golden State, because I think they're going to have to use him with that team.
Yeah, like it is a little bit interesting to me that the advanced numbers actually like him a decent amount. Like his 5.2 estimated wins last year per dunksandthrees.com, right? Like that to me is the best, like, you know, EPM is the best all-in-one metric, and then estimating wins off of that is kind of the easiest way to like try and gauge value if you're trying to utilize an all-in-one metric. Obviously no, you know, excuse for not watching tape. Tape is the most important thing, and I think I've kind of enumerated all of my concerns with Kuminga on some level in that regard. But like,
Yeah.
Jonathan Kuminga was worth 5.2 wins last season. That's more than RJ Barrett. That's more than Jalen Green. That's more than Jabari Smith. Like he actually was like quite valuable comparatively to what some of these other guys that like just missed our list were worth. So to me, when I look at it, I thought it was like a completely insane pick at first, whenever you said you wanted Kuminga. And I was like, I looked deeper into it. I did a little bit more, and I was like, okay, I think I see it at least. Still wouldn't be on my list, but like I see the vision at the very least to where you can get there. Yeah, like I would have had all of I frankly would have had all of RJ Barrett, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Jaden McDaniels, Trey Murphy, and like Denny and Devin Vassell over him. But I think his ceiling is higher than all those guys if it breaks.
I will also say Kuminga only played 26 minutes. So even when you're just looking at raw numbers for him, he's still, you know, like we're a couple guys we're about to talk about both average over 33 minutes a night. And so I don't know, maybe that's my thing. Like him and Moses Moody, I guess, like, I'm not trying to blame Steve Kerr. It's just like, those are two guys who I just can't help but say they're better than this. And when Kuminga finally got his chance this last year, I thought he played pretty well. And again, I went back, looked through my notes. There was some defensive stuff. You talked about the on-ball potential, the versatility that can come with the on-ball. I can see the worry of, okay, maybe this is all he ends up being, right? Because if this is all he ends up being and what you have on the screen right now, then yeah, this is wrong. Like it doesn't warrant a top 24 player. I get that. So is there another jump, or was that the only jump? I think that's a fair question. I just kind of buy into him in this role of this just power slashing wing, moves off the ball, cuts, finishes around the rim, and then provides real, value on the defensive end as well.
That is actually an underrated thing that I think happened last year. He never stopped moving last year. I thought his second year, even particularly, he was still learning kind of how to move off the ball. This year, I think he kind of figured out the cutting aspect off the ball, how to make himself like a really dangerous player offensively when he didn't have the ball in his hands. So to me, that is a really, really good point and something worth arguing and considering with Kuminga.